Hi, my name is Evan Baldwin. Did you know that dozens, maybe even hundreds of albinos in East African countries have been murdered? This is mostly due to widely held beliefs that albino individuals can bring about good luck and other types of superstitions. As a result, many albinos have been forced to go into hiding. One may ask, what exactly is albinoism? Albinism is a genetic condition which is also called acromia. It is characterized by a deficiency in the production in melanin and by the partial or complete absence of pigment in the skin, hair, and eyes. This hereditary disease can be found in humans, affecting all races, mammals, birds, fish, reptiles, and amphibians. People with albinism often have vision problems and are susceptible to sunburns and skin cancers. If they do not protect themselves from direct sunlight, nearly 98% of albinos do not live beyond the age of 40. There are a few causes of albinism. A person inherits one or more defective genes that cause themselves to be unable to produce the normal amounts of a pigment called melanin. Researchers have identified several genes that result in albinism. The genes are located on autosomal chromosomes. Both parents must carry a defective gene to have a child with albinism. As you can imagine, there are social and cultural challenges of albinism. The first is social isolation. People with albinism are at risk of social isolation because the condition is often misunderstood. Albinism is often a source of mockery, dis- discrimination, prejudice, in some cases fear and violence. Because of the reason alone, many infants are abandoned by their parents for fear of the unknown condition and often fall victim into infanticide. There was a particular case where a little albino girl was abandoned when she was 2 years old because many believed she would bring bad luck. Another challenge is the social stigma that arises from appearing different from the rest of the population and communities of color that can be social stigmatized. Old beliefs regarding people with albinism still exist in different cultures around the world. The prevalence of albinism is very central to this story. Albinism is a genetically inherited condition which is very rare and worldwide affects approximately 1 in 20,000 people in the world in most of the world. Although rare in the Western world, albinism is quite common in sub-Saharan Africa, likely as a result of congeniality. However, in Tanzania, albinos represent 1 in every 1,429 births, a much higher rate than in any other nation. As a result, Tanzania is thought to have the largest population of albinos in Africa. There are 6,977 official registered albinos in Tanzania, while there still may be up to 17,000 undocumented albinos. Consequently, albinos are especially persecuted in Tanzania, China, and Malawi. There has been approximately 100 documented killings of albinos since 2000 in Tanzania alone. More than 200 witch doctors and traditional healers have been arrested in Tanzania in a crackdown on the murder of albino people. You may be wondering, why are albinos being killed in East Africa? And what is there to gain from this? Well, most albinos are hunted for use of the body parts, while the remainder are hunted for their hair. Most people with albinism may occur for different reasons. Firstly, many believe the incorrect myths and superstitions that certain body parts of albinos can transmit magically powers. Witch doctors who use body parts as ingredients in rituals, con- concoctions, and potions claim that their magic will bring prosperity to the user. As a result, infanticide, kidnapping, mutations, and dissipations are committed for purposes of supplying highly valued body parts used for amulets and potions. These stems from the belief that individuals with albinism possess superpowers or their body parts bestow fortune and health. These body parts may be sold for as much as $75,000 on the black market for a set of arms, legs, ears, genitals from an individual with albinism. In contrast to the previous reasons, people with albinism have also been orchestrated and killed for exactly the opposite reason. They are often persecuted as devils or people who are a bad omen or suffer from a curse. In some villages, the majority believe that contact with them will bring bad luck, sickness, or death. Another reason for the senseless killings of a minority is the lack of knowledge. Many fear what they cannot understand, therefore they construct different or often incorrect stories to make sense of the unknown. For instance, myth and superstition in the name of witchcraft take the place of medical and scientific facts in the minds of many albinos and Native Americans. As a result, people with albinism have been persecuted, killed, and dismembered, and graves of albinos have been dug up and disintegrated. Victims include children snatched or abducted from their parents. The killers and their occupants use hair, arms, legs, skin, genitals, and blood in rituals for witch potions in order to combat the persecution of innocent albinos. Many alternatives have suffered to offer protection. First, the United States Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights published a primary report regarding discrimination which has been directed towards people with albinism. Submitted as a part of the Human Rights Council resolution and reinforced that states would adopt specific measures to protect and preserve the rights to live in security of persons with albinism, as well as their right not to be subject to torture and ill treatment, and ensure their access to adequate health care, employment, education, and justice. A second alternative is educating the public. A key issue is the influence of educating the public to encourage the removal of the social stigma associated with albinos. In a society which does not completely understand that albinism is not a curse or a spiritual ghost, but simply a skin condition. In Zimbabwe, albinos have been given the name So, which indicated that they are possessed by evil spirits. And in Tanzania, they are known as Guri, meaning pig, or Zuru, which means ghost. The problem is that they are seen as ghosts and evil, not humans. A number of steps were taken by the government to protect the albino population. The president ordered a crackdown on witch doctors in the spring of 2008 to fold grave robbers' graves of albinistic were to be sealed with concrete. Organizations were created to cease persecutions. Among the organizations are under the same sun, the UTSS, National Organizations for Albinism and Hyperpigmentation, the NOAH, Tanzanian Albino Century, and Assisting Children in Need. All of these organizations have been set up to help protect and provide for albino communities. Despite many failures in process where witch doctors would be arrested and freed without serving time, the first ever conviction for killing of an albino in Tanzania occurred on the 23rd of September in 2009 at the High Court in Kamaka. The case centered around the murder and mutilation of a 14-year-old boy, Matatonaza Dana, by 3 bounty hunters. Despite the failures of previous cases, the 3 murderers were found guilty and sentenced to death by public hanging. Is there any question?
Do you really believe that being educated on this subject would have prevented senseless murderers?
Well, truthfully, not really, because there are just some people born with that demeanor and that mindset. They want to kill something. That's how serial killers start. Is there another question?
Why is the prevalence of albinism so high in Tanzania than in comparison to other African countries?
Because that's where most of them are. Well, from what I can see, because Tanzania is like one of the main parts of Africa. And you know how most people in Africa are dark skinned, but in South Africa, most of the people are light skinned.
I see.
I have a question. I want to know what made you choose this subject.
Well, I've been reading on different things, and recently in reading I seen that this black couple they had a child, and the child was white with blue eyes, and they were really dark, and I started looking up on it. This is what I chose.
Okay.
Thank you.